Hey. Gabe looked so serious at the beginning, and then all of a sudden he realized that we were on, and he
I was reading notes that I wrote for this, and I'm like,
okay.
that makes sense. That's weird. Yeah,
a prepared guest. I am impressed already.
I wanted to actually know what I was going to be talking about. So I was like, let me read through this one more time before I just close this. And then I'm looking at Morgan.
Everyone's saying they cannot hear Morgan. So it's just going to be you and me, Gabe.
I don't see how that's a problem.
I can hear you fine. I don't know if chat can hear you, though. That's the real question.
Hey.
Yep.
Morgan, are you muted inside of your streaming software?
I think what happened is Morgan angered his patron, and that's why he no longer has the capabilities of talking. That's what happens.
Think about how the Little Mermaid was.
Yeah, I was going
to say the Little Mermaid was kind of a warlock patron thing because Ursula literally took her voice.
Yeah.
Oh, completely. Yeah. Yes.
Dang.
There's a lot of warlock moments in Disney.
God, you're right. In fact,
if you go back and watch Disney cartoons, which I watch a lot of.
Wait.
Okay, you're back.
No, Morgan, but quiet. All right, I'm quieter. All right, 1 second. All right, I think I figured it out. That's what it was. I
can sort of hear Morgan very quiet.
All right.
This is your patron barely giving you back your power.
And here I am. Okay, little better. Yes. Okay, and we're up. There
only hear Morgan a little from the left side.
Goodness gracious. Sorry, everybody. Yes, good now. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much.
Hey.
All right. Anyway, welcome to the Dungeon Cooldown, everybody.
Happy Monday.
I know.
Happy
Monday to all of you. We always love starting our week this way. We're so excited to have Gabe here with us. Yes.
Gabe Hicks.
Gabe
Hicks.
How's your first week been as a member of an official member of the Dungeon Run community?
That was cool. I mean, I think it's hilarious that everyone was so shocked that people kept wanting to see bad things happen to the party. And I'm like, that's what being a charismatic leader does.
Very true.
I definitely noticed that Team Force of Evil immediately took to Gabe.
I was going to say,
happened within a matter of minutes.
We'll get to it in some of the comments and questions, but Gabe, rave reviews from Team Force of Evil.
Yeah.
Team Force of Good feels like that is the party.
Right.
That's the people who want to see the party succeed. Right. Team Force of Evil doesn't necessarily they want to see the party fail, but they want to see you get close to failing.
And they want to see us suffer.
Yeah, that is true. Yes, no, and that has been actually over the years of the Dungeon Run. Now that has been a sort of much discussed back and forth. Was Team Force of Evil for the most part? There's a couple very dark souls out there who are like, nope, I want them to die. But for the most part, they're like, no, I like seeing them challenged. And I was like, oh, thank you, Sven Eddie, appreciate it.
Train.
But yeah, it's mostly about wanting to see what comes of the challenge and what comes of everything. So when you have new players and new everything, they're like, oh man, it's like, no, it's okay. They genuinely, they're not trying to kill you, I promise.
Yeah.
So whenever anybody comes in like too hot, like, all right, Force of Evil, let's go. It's like, no, it's all.
Yeah, don't
take it
poke
that
the bear. Yeah.
And even us, it took us a little bit too. There was a time in the early episodes where Jessica was taking every disadvantage very personally.
Oh yeah.
Or she wasn't, but she was acting like she was taking it very personally.
Yeah.
She's like,
I will say this: the first thing that I noticed on the stream was that Persephone, Gabe, I want to call her Handsome.
Kelly.
That's not right. Kelly, thank you.
Kelly Handsome. Handsome Kelly.
They all jumped into the deep end right from the beginning, and there was zero fear, which I really appreciate as an improviser, as an actor, as a dungeon master. And I just want to compliment all three of you, because I know it can be a little weird, a little jarring to get brought onto a pre-existing show and a pre-existing stream and do something new when these people haven't necessarily seen you do your thing. And the fact that you guys were so confident to do your thing showed. And I just want to say thank you for not being afraid and for jumping into.
And there we are.
Hey.
Oh my goodness. Anyway, hi everybody. That was a full-on crash. Apologies, my friends. We were just getting going.
I was talking about something sweet, and I didn't even remember what it was.
No.
So they're all dead next time.
Right. This is how this is going to happen. Perfect. Oh, my goodness. Woo, doing it live. Anyway. Where were we? We were talking about Team Force of Good, Team Force of Evil. It's been...
We're talking about... Well, I also made the comment about...
Just diving right in, yes.
Yeah, diving right in, and Gabe was saying some deep, profound stuff before everything crashed. Gabe,
that's correct.
Do you want to continue
too
your
deep and
profound
too
thoughts?
profound as it was.
That's right. Yes, it was that I was excited and ready to dive in because when I started doing this stuff, I was so incredibly terrified of trying to please everyone. And in my personal life and in an industry of entertainment, I had to realize that is not something that was sustainable in any way. If there were people who loved the dungeon run, and for example, if people who love dungeon run only because of Jeff, that's awesome. I'm not Jeff.
Right.
I'm never going to try to be Jeff.
Nope.
That's great. And I love that you love coming to see Jeff.
Yes.
The people who come here and they're like, I want to see a weird story happen with some people that I'm familiar with and some people that are new. Welcome home.
Yes.
That I can do. We can have a great time. It's going to be weird. When we talked about me coming to do this stuff, I knew for a fact, I was like, I'm not going to try to be Jeff. I've watched a couple of his things to like get an idea of what this world felt like in an entertainment sense, but I never wanted to be him, especially because if I was going to try to take his place, all I'd be doing is all anyone watching would be doing is getting the same thing with a different person.
Yeah, no, I think that's absolutely right. And that's true here. And that's true in so many, in this business, definitely we're trying to be creative, and so much of DMing is personal, is like what comes from your head, and DMing and playing and anything like that. So immediately trying to force you into some sort of a box would have just been the dumbest thing any of us could have done. And I think that's why it was important, I think, from day one, where we were like, this is not, this is a new thing. It will still feel in the family of the dungeon run, and that's what we want. And that is, as the channel or whatever, we are trying to bring new stories and do new stories, but also we got Gabe to let Gabe tell his story. Like that is that is
Sir Bubblesworth said, I'm one of those who originally came for Jeff and now absolutely adore each of you. Last Wednesday I got to meet awesome new creators, so thank you.
That's amazing. Thank you.
Yeah. And Pyroclastic Flatulate,
correct.
wants to know if I want to be part of the cast. I'm gonna be part of the cast.
Oh yeah,
it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
Can you tease us anything about your character? I know nothing about Jared's character.
Well, I have 6 different ideas for characters, and I'm gonna pitch them all to Gabe.
You know what's gonna happen, Jared? I'm gonna roll a D6.
Long conversation.
Yeah, I was gonna say you can give him 6.
Roll a D6, and you're just not gonna.
I have a 12-page dissertation for each character's backstory.
That tracks. That's a Jared K. Jack. Yeah.
Is this a bit or is this real?
No, that's Jared.
I may or may not have artwork for each character already.
Is this a bit or is this real?
I don't know.
Jared's character description for Civ in episode 1 will still go down as one of the funniest moments of the show, because it was like it goes on for so long, and it is like a romance novel unto itself.
Oh my god! Hi, Ron.
More or less.
Hey, Ron. Oh, thanks, buddy. Oh, and Angel Devilson, I see you giving out subs. Thank you so much. Sven Eddy as well. And thank you all. We really appreciate you being here. Yeah.
So I have a question.
Hit it.
I have a lot of questions, but
Yeah,
I have
right.
a question based off
Just
of what Gabe
one.
had just recently said. How did you get into RPGs and TTRPGs? Like, what was your origin story for that?
The biggest question.
A weird dude in Crocs while I was in college asked if I wanted to play D&D 3.5, and then I played in a session, and then he killed me in a well.
And you're like, this is fun. Let's keep doing
I'm
this.
into this.
No, I was like, this sucks. And then I just didn't play it for 2 years. And then I'm like, wait, why did I stop playing? Because he sucked.
Yeah.
And then it was like, oh, and then I started like writing and creating and putting stuff online. But I never forgot that character because he ended up almost TPKing the entire party.
Wow.
He came back to life in like a weird necromantic kind of way, and he was a dragon sorcerer. And then I started like freezing people's feet and starting grease fires, which is like a little Easter egg that I did our session with
You
the
and
grease
your
fire.
grease fires. Yikes.
Yep. Yeah, it all started because of Croc Guy.
Okay, I like that.
The evil.
So if we ever
Crocs.
come across an NPC that's wearing strange looking sandals,
trust
we
them.
should immediately kill them.
That's right.
I mean, you should be more worried if I introduce a Croc, because that might be an Easter egg.
He's wearing actual crocodiles for his feet.
I mean, that could easily have happened in this last session with the Feywild.
That's very true. Yeah, when you go Feywild immediately, you're like, oh man, you just expect everything.
Yeah.
Our first encounter was with a mushroom, for goodness sake. Thank you, Goofus
Yep.
McDorkle. I see you. Thank you so much for gifting those subs. Yeah, I think, but it was we were talking about just kind of everybody diving in like head first immediately. It is so nice to whether you're an actor or creator or player or GM, it's like the best thing you can do is just make choices and then listen.
Yeah.
Make choices and then actually listen to each other, you know,
I'm
because
sorry, what?
yeah, exactly. Thank you, Jared. Because the reverse side of that is people that like come with the really strong choices and then they don't care what anybody else is doing. They're just like,
That's one of my character concepts, actually. Gabe.
cool.
Speaking of, no.
I don't know if I believe you about kidding anymore.
I just say I trust
possible.
nothing when it comes to Jared. That's true. But yeah, it's been so fun to kind of get this group together and then see, because we did have a session 0, but it was mostly about like pitching characters to each other and just sort of like this is the energy, you know, and we decided not to know each other going into it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And that felt right for this in a lot of ways. Like we established what lines we didn't want to cross.
Right.
And then we didn't have super, super in-depth details of what the character relationships were going to be or had to be. Since we wanted something, like we talked about a little bit off camera, we wanted something that felt like Justice League.
Right.
Like you have these characters and you can engage with these characters, but it doesn't have to be that each episode has to be the next piece in a story. The way that Fortune and Fate is designed is that technically when we're 3, 5, 10 episodes in, someone can watch episode 6 and they didn't miss anything from episode 1 to 5.
Right.
And to me, when it comes to wanting to enjoy a show, that's one of the best things. That's one of the best ways to introduce new people to a show. That's one of the best things of getting someone to introduce people to a character or characters, because we love campaigns.
Right.
That's obvious.
Right.
It's so freaking hard to feel like you can understand what's happening in a campaign when you're already 30 sessions in, and
or
that's the first
110.
And I struggle with that because I'm like, I want to be excited. I want to know what's happening.
Sure.
This seems cool. I have to know
It's an
when
investment.
they met this character's mother, who secretly is an assassin, that I only know if I watched episode 27. And then in episode 38, I find out that the assassin that the person the assassin killed was actually their aunt. And I'm like, I can't do that.
It is that thing. It's what every like TV show has struggled with since the beginning of time, where it's like, you know, when you were in season 4 of Lost and they're like, we're not getting any new viewers though. Yeah. It's like, well, yeah.
And they try to do the recap episode, which is never good because it's essentially just clipping from all the past episodes.
And so this was...
the director and producers needed a break, so they're going to do a recap episode.
and this was about... Fortunate Fate was about, like, you know, one-shots are fun, but also wanting still to get some of that good depth that you get with character, that you get by learning the relationships of the people, that you get with loose threads.
I was going to say the characters are developing relationships, so I still think there's going to be a little bit of a through line
for sure,
no matter what. You know, like it's pretty obvious just based off what I saw, the relationship between, let's say, Red, which is Ron's adorable little red panda Simic hybrid.
Yeah, it's a Simic hybrid, right? We got some questions about what is Red. Red is technically a Simic hybrid. Yes.
Yeah. So there are some Magic the Gathering stuff in this, but it's not taking place in the Magic the Gathering world.
Right.
What I think Gabe is going for is with these portals is that it's a multiverse. There's all these different dimensions that are all going to kind of get joined together at the Bastion. Well, why don't you tell us, Gabe, instead of me trying to explain what I saw when I watched the episode?
Well, to be honest, if you can explain what's going on in my head without me having to say it, that means that I did a good job.
True.
Yeah. Like that is one of the most flattering, because that's basically it. It is that these figures and characters can come from anywhere. And I hate when people try to tell me how my world should work when it comes to narrative stuff. And it's like, well, Gabe, actually, Magic the Gathering characters from Ravnica wouldn't be in your world. So I introduced portals. And I'm like, who cares?
Right.
Now they're here.
Yeah.
Now they can go back. Like that, I'll give you a narrative reason for all of my nonsense. If anyone has ever watched an interview that I've done and asks me about my DM style, I almost always bring up the fact that role-playing games, and especially Dungeons and Dragons, are kind of nonsense, and you don't have to follow the rules.
No.
And anyone who tries to tell me that I should follow rules also seems to ignore the fact that there's a canonical jar that, of course, Ron has that can make a gallon of mayonnaise. So, if that exists, we can do whatever we want, and there doesn't have to be reason for it.
And the other thing that I will always point to is literally the rules themselves say throw this out if you don't want it.
Sure.
Like literally it's said in the DMG, you know, and it's actually said like, use this, don't use it, do whatever. Yeah. And it's all just here to
That's
inspire
probably
you.
The least quoted rule, actually.
I know.
Yes. Yes, it is.
And I get D&D, one of the things, and all TTRPGs, but D&D is I think loved by different people for different reasons, and some people really love those strict rules. You know, Trisha Hirschberger was a perfect example. She was like, no, I need hard rules all the time. She's like, she wanted that, and it was just sort of like, but with Jeff, for instance, perfect example I always think of is episode 2 where we had a fight with blink dogs.
Oh yeah.
And there were so many comments. They're like, blink dogs are actually lawful good. They should not be attacking them. And Jeff's like, I don't care. Mine aren't. Shut up.
And from then on out, Jeff homebrewed every single thing we came across.
It's so true.
Which was brutal for Ron and I, because we were like, we know all the monsters and we know a lot of the rules.
Drow,
like,
that means loaf. And it's like, nope, there's no loaf.
Yeah, and what it did do is it actually forced us to role play the situation where our characters don't necessarily know.
Yeah, it makes it easier not to
salvage mander is and whether or not it's good or evil, and it's gonna, you know, eat us in our sleep or whatever.
The fun thing is people something that I'm good at, and I have no problem not being modest about it. I don't care anymore. Something that I'm good at is I like taking stuff that is like SRD, canonical stuff in D&D, and using it for an unintended purpose that by rules as written is correct. And I'm a monster for it, but it's so funny. I bring this.
Can you give an example?
Yeah, I bring this up too much. It's really messed up. It's really funny. The Rod of Security is a canonical magical item. You activate it, and when it's activated, willing creatures go inside of the rod. The person who activates the rod can create essentially whatever utopia they have in their mind, including fake people and creatures. Like, they can make anything they imagine. And there's enough food for people to eat. And it can be as big a space. It's basically you're making a different plane of existence inside of the
Truman
rod.
Show.
And people can stay inside of it for a certain amount of time. People can stay inside of it for a certain amount of time by how many creatures are in it. But the thing is, if you keep putting people in a rod of security, like you put them in a rod of security, and then when they're inside that first rod, you put them in a second rod of security, and then you can and if you charm creatures, you can make them willing to do it. So if you put someone in like 5 rods of security, technically the other rods that they're inside of don't start counting down because there's no creatures inside of it. So it just exists there. So you put them in a Russian nesting doll timer intentionally that it can only be deactivated if someone actually grabs it. So when you create that fantasy world of the rod of security, you could technically make it invisible too if you really wanted to. So I did that to people.
This is a prime example. I was gonna bring this up. I almost getting to the point where I'm gonna have to mute Gabe on Twitter because Gabe's Twitter account is full of him musing ideas about how to torture players, and I read them.
Horrible, I mean horrible for the players,
and they all terrify me. I'm like, I shouldn't be reading this.
No, you should, because the ones that you react to are the ones that I do this on purpose. I'll tell you right now, Morgan, I do it on purpose because if you saw it and then you see something that reminds you of that in game, you're going to panic, whether intentionally or not. And the thing is, it's probably not that, but it's enough to scare you.
Yes. I'm going to be rolling insight checks on everything. Every inanimate object, every NPC.
So the most important skill in a Gabe game is insight. That's what you're saying. That's insight and perception.
Something else that is an incredible way to deceive people. And I made a TikTok about this, and people didn't seem to get it, and I was like, whatever, I don't care explaining. Zone of truth. Zone of truth tells you when creatures have chosen to pass or fail.
Right.
So if you ever, as a DM, want to avoid zone of truth, make sure the creature has major illusion and invisibility. What you do is you make the main creature invisible. You create a major illusion that can speak and respond, and it will say whatever you want it to. And you make the invisible creature fail. When the invisible creature fails, they know that the zone of truth activated and the creature failed, but the illusion is the only one that has to speak. And if the illusion is speaking, the main creature is not, rules as written, lying. So anything that the main creature tells them, no, that cave is completely safe, it can absolutely be a lie. And then they are forced to believe that it was true.
I do this with characters often where, for instance, barbarians are not a class mostly for me that I am drawn to for the most part. You know, there's just shocking
statement coming from you, Morgan.
You know what? I have anger issues. I mean, we've talked about this. No, but however, when I do find the way to subvert it is often when I'll go like, oh, that's fun. Where it's where I'm almost looking for this is the big thing of what a barbarian is supposed to be. So what if it still fulfills all of that, but it's still very different in this other way? And that's often what'll really attract me to a character, is kind of subverting people's and my own expectations as to why this person isn't what you necessarily expect.
So let me ask you, that just made another question pop into my head. Let me ask you this, Gabe. Mm-hmm. You knew who these characters were before you started the episode. Mm-hmm. Was there anything that you either predicted or couldn't predict and were surprised by that happened in this episode with these characters?
Handsome was smarter than I expected.
Which is saying a lot, because Handsome was not very smart.
Handsome had a greater sense of self-preservation than I expected.
Yes. Oh, okay. Handsome is very vain. And yes. And
Red did not. And Red was like, I walk up to the thing and then I climb it. And I'm like, oh, Ron. Okay.
There's one thing that's kind of ingrained in most Ron's characters that I've noticed. That's that he tends to be very brave no matter who he plays.
Impulsivity.
Yeah.
I like, which is actually something I like in players, because what do you call it? Analysis paralysis can be such a thing where it's just sort of like, what do we do? Like, I just go. Can I just go? And it's, sometimes it's like, it's a game. Can we make a decision?
Oh, so Keon. Keon is a character using canonical rules from Dungeons and Dragons. Mm-hmm. One of the Strixhaven subclasses gives the wizard a sentient animated statue companion.
Oh, wait a minute.
And and a coffin is just an item. So the coffin is literally just strapped to the statue's back, because he uses animate dead, and to animate dead you need bones or something. Wow. And he's not going to carry that around. So it's just on the back of the statue because it has a strength high enough to have the carry.
To carry it, yeah.
Oh man. That's right. That's because we had that moment of like, what's the deal with that guy? It's like, that's where I put my bones. What?
Yeah. I was trying so hard not to metagame when I was watching, and you said there's a coffin on the other person's back. I was like, oh, it's a lich. It's a lich. No, wait, it's not a lich. It's got to be this. It's got to be that. And then I started going through all the undead in my Rolodex in my head of what it could possibly be.
Animate dead is, well, necromancy in a lot of games is weird, but like it's so that like it was the idea of like, what's the least socially messed up way to have a necromancer? You reuse the same bones. That's what.
Oh,
there you go.
Sure, that's just recycling.
And maybe they were donated bones. Maybe that,
hey,
yes,
they had it on their driver's license.
The donor card, it's completely donated consensual. Yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful necromancy. I love it.
So going back to what I was saying earlier, is I like that there's still going to be a little bit of a through line from episode to episode based off of the relationships that the characters are creating.
Right.
Yes.
And like Red's relationship with Morgan's Vidalcan is going to be completely different than Red's relationship with Handsome, or Jessica's character's relationship is with Puss Puss or Peggy. And I love that. I love the fact that depending on the chemistry, much like, if you're looking at the DC universe or X-Men or something like that, it's a completely different group. Like if you have Wolverine in your group, mm-hmm. or you have Cyclops in your group, it's going to be a very, very different story.
That's why I legit had that moment as Nedrin, because Nedrin he's an intelligent rogue. And so I was like, he's a heist guy. He's he's not Danny Ocean, but he's got a little bit of Danny Ocean, a little bit of Robert De Niro and Heat in him a little bit, where he's like, all right, what do you do? Which is, so I legit had the moment of like, what do you do? What do you do? Hey, you with the cat, do you do anything?
Yeah, what skills do you have?
Because I need to know what we're doing. And, if I'm going to trust you people, we need to at least have some idea what everybody can do. Yeah. That was.
Oh, we have Patreon questions.
I was going to say, let's hit some questions.
Yeah. I've just been talking to Gabe this whole time. So Bradley Potts, question for Gabe. How could they dare to spoil your fun with their high rolls? Is that a question?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Because something that this group has not realized enough, low rolls will definitely work in your favor. Because if you start failing too much, I feel bad for you and I give you overpowered things. That is a very common theme. I was actually very close to giving Jess like a magic item, but then she started doing well, and I was like, no, that's fine. She's good.
Yeah.
She's fine.
No, I give OP items to like low rolling parties all the time because when they do really well because they're overpowered, then they get hubris and start making bad choices again.
Right.
And then they're also super paranoid they're going to lose the item at some point.
Oh yeah, and most of my items,
I think all monks should probably start out with at least one magical item.
I will never get tired of the fact that like monks are like the only class that besides barbarians, don't correct me, I don't care. Monks are like the only class that can do unarmed combat in a greater sense. And I'm like, yo, look, give them a bonus damage die. But if I am a paladin, I can probably punch harder than 1 base damage, right? I've been doing this for years. I kill demons, but oh my God, my fist though. Oh, my fist.
It's all through your axe. It's only through your axe. It's so true. Yeah.
They need to come out with the Dark Sun campaign, because then everybody will want to play monks. Okay, so that was question number 1. Thank you, Bradley Potts.
I think, and again, I think that also ties back to what we've said so many times, which is failure is so often, at least for storytelling, failure is so often the more interesting choice. Yes, you know, true. Which is when it's hard, because you don't want to choose to fail. You know, your character wants to succeed at the thing they're trying to, but when you fail at something, that, you know, that scar tissue or whatever can always become something almost more interesting. Where the moment with talking about like chemistry between characters, Nedrin and Handsome, that we had like when Handsome was like, oh my God, how do I look? And there was like that was one of my favorite moments of the episode was when Nedrin was like, pull it together, here, take my protractor. I think you can see your reflection in this. It's gonna be okay. Come on, buddy, hang with me here. I need you together, please.
Yeah, yeah, because he's the only healer, really.
He is the only healer.
But I think Ron's character might be able to. I don't know if he took any healing spells.
Some artificers can. I don't know if technically Ron.
We can fix that. Patreon questions, Morgan. Yep. People paid for this.
I know. You're right.
Well, the next Patreon question has 4 parts, so let's not go too crazy here.
Okay.
Oh,
this is from Jessica.
Fail Waffle.
Also, aka Fail Waffle.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Gabe, it's refreshing to see your enthusiasm and support for Team Force of Evil, aka Force of Challenge, as a DM.
Force of Challenge.
I could not agree more that failed rolls and more challenges make for a more interesting and most of the time fun D&D sessions. So thank you. Thank you for being on the Cooldown. I thought we could use some of this time to get to know you better. She says, taking out her microphone. I was telling Morgan this before the show. I was like, I don't even have to see the username to know just by the way this is written that this is Fail Waffle.
It's Fail Waffle for sure.
Number 1, how did you get into D&D and how long ago was this?
Talked about
we already
that
answered that question. So we're going to go to number 2. Number 2, can you give us a snapshot of your career and how you began working with Roll20, Critical Role, and how you got here?
Oh my God.
Fail Waffle setting you up, man.
But the most modest thing, I just started doing stuff. I worked at Target for 3 years while trying to figure out what I wanted to do and create any sense of a career in tabletop. And
bet you look great in a red shirt and khakis.
Not anymore, because I don't wear those. I
worked at a Target too. Sorry.
God. And I was like, I kept thinking that I had to follow a specific route to make it work. And then I think about a year and a half through, I was like, God, I hate doing this. And I hate trying to do it that way. So I was like, you know what I like doing? I like posting weird ideas on the internet. I'm just going to keep doing that. And I was like, I just started putting ideas I had, good, bad, anything that was interesting. And as I did that more and more and created more conversation, it's like that whole idea of cultivating a community, because even if the ideas weren't always good, even if they weren't always mechanically sound, I was excited, fun, or interesting. Ron, don't get me started. I worked at GameStop for 2 years before going to Target. And after doing that more and more and more, what I also started doing was I was like, I like doing a bunch of things. I like voice acting. I like writing. I like cosplaying. And I realized I could be a multifaceted human being while being a creator. And as I did more of that, networking on social media, playing games, and talking about the things that I enjoyed or things that I didn't love, but like trying to put it in a frame of like, here's why I don't like this thing. It doesn't mean you don't have to. And then I just started putting work out there, putting little projects, putting like 1-page supplements, putting out game hacks or new mechanics. And some people were like, hey, we want to work on this small thing. Do you want to? It was like small indie companies. I'm like, hell yeah, let's do it. Putting all of my passion into these little projects. And for lack of a better word, being a good person has undoubtedly gotten me a lot of my work.
Yep.
Because people will be like, you know what? Like, I like working with Gabe because he cares about what he's doing. He might not know everything, but he's willing to learn.
Mm-hmm.
And that mentality made so much of a difference for me. Even the people that I know with critical, like Matt Mercer is an incredibly friendly individual.
Mm-hmm.
And there were plenty of things where I would like tweet at Matt that I was just excited about, or like when he would respond to something. And it's not because I want clout, I want attention, I need him to see it. It was like, I'm excited about this thing and he might like it. And if he doesn't see it, other people might like it and they might think it's cool. And that's like even Morgan I met through the one shot, and talking with Morgan before and after that was just like, I like talking to this weird nerdy dude, which is in no way
on weird.
Yeah. No, that's correct. Yeah, I'll accept that.
I have no doubt that like part of that conversation and that connection is why I'm here in the first place.
100%.
Being a good, friendly person that people enjoy being around and showing that you want to create. That stuff led me to MCDM because of people who work at MCDM that I was friends with and knew that I cared about the stuff that I wrote. It has led me to like working on Critical Role Zukatoa. It's why I worked on Pathfinder stuff. And when people at Pathfinder saw that I cared about my work, I cared about the storytelling, and I asked questions. Like, I never need to be the person who's the best at something, but I want to make the best thing that I can make. And being able to project that outwardly, it made a difference. I have been raised and have worked very hard to be someone that's like, what you see is what you get. If anyone asks me what I'm like off camera, I have gone live 3 times by accident.
I saw this.
And I'm the same person even when I don't think the camera is on. And just putting that stuff out there and doing it, it has literally led to me having these opportunities and just being passionate about it. Like I'm weird, I'm nerdy, I like dressing up, I like getting paid to dress up, and I will never sacrifice my own happiness to do what other people tell me to do, because at the end of the day, I'm still Gabe.
Right.
And if Gabe doesn't make money doing this, I'll figure out another way. I don't know. That was a long-winded answer. I worked really hard, apparently, and I'm learning to be more confident. Put myself out there, even though it's terrifying.
Some of the cosplay things that you've done?
Oh my God. Okay.
Follow
Dream Daddy,
Gabe on TikTok if you have
Matt from Dream Daddy. I have done King Harrow from the Dragon Prince. I have done Hal Pendragon from Howl's Moving Castle. I have done Gomez from the Addams Family recently.
Adams, yes.
Nice.
What else? I've done a Heartless from Kingdom Hearts.
Wow.
All over. It's literally like whatever gets my hyperfixation for the like month. And I'm like, well, now I have to. And the worst thing is one of my business partners. So I run a company called Mythic Grove with a friend of mine, where basically like we just put up little supplements when we get excited about stuff. And it's the best and worst thing because she's also a professional costume designer and tailor. So like when I post about running a cosplay, I swear to God, I get like a text from her like, Gabe, I actually have some fabric. It's left over.
She's like feeding your addiction.
No, she bought a new camera and it's great and horrible.
That's so true. It is exactly what you say. It is work. I say that when people ask for advice or anything, I'm like, work hard, be nice. The rest is timing and luck for the most part.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And
if you're nice, people will see you if they like the stuff that you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
If you seem like a jerk, how often have you seen someone who looks like they're rude as hell or sounds rude as hell and you actively don't look at them in real life?
Life is too short and there's too many people to deal with people like that for too long.
Yes.
And that's
I have siblings. Okay.
Yeah.
So like
3 older sisters.
Yes, these are the people that I am obligated to have some sort of relationship with in some social sense.
Right.
And I love them for who they are. And even when we get annoyed, We will still work through it, but I don't have to do that with strangers.
Nope.
And I will not. I tried it, and that's why I don't work in retail anymore. I had someone walk up to me at a cash register, look at my name tag and say, Gabriel, that's exotic. I'm like, yeah, sure. Yep. Gabriel, that's it.
Gabriel.
That's it.
Mm-hmm. Were they flirting with you?
No, I hope not, because her kid was next to her, and her kid looked like, what?
What?
Oh God. People flirt with retail workers. That's the weirdest thing, because I'm like, I'm stuck here. You know that, right? There was one time at the fitting room where
no one looks good in this lighting.
It's the khakis.
That's true. That's true.
Everybody loves a nice pair of khakis. By the way, one of my character concepts is a khaki wearing. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, come on. All khakis.
Yeah, all khaki all day.
What a tease.
Okay, so let's do part 3 of Jessica's question. What do you think will be the biggest challenge joining TDR family as you lead this new adventure? What has been something fun about beginning this new adventure?
I think the hardest thing will be people realizing how many times my style that I like is I want people to ask questions because they feel like they want to know a specific answer. And I think that adaptation will be hard. Jeff leads in an incredible way that elicits more long-term storytelling and very in-depth detail. Mm-hmm. And with a lot of my storytelling, especially in stuff like this, my storytelling will be, I give you details intentionally in things that I say. And then if there's stuff that I leave out, it's either stuff that's not important or it's stuff that I want you to ask about. So it was like that moment where I was like, yeah, and you see a tree with grapes on it. And like Morgan was like, trees don't, in Morgan's head, he was like, trees don't have grapes. But no one else said anything. And I'm like, all right, I'm gonna just leave it go. I'm gonna keep going. So I think that'll be an interesting adaptation for getting into it. But I'm really excited to see people in the party see how much agency they have. Because I even said with this off camera, even if I have a way that I think the story is going to end, I love changing it. Right. I love when my party gives me something way more interesting. If someone's like, I hope it's not a chimera, and I was thinking it was going to be a rabbit, I'm going to pick the chimera. Like, A, because then the player gets to feel like they were right, and B, my answers never have to be right. If someone else has something way more interesting, I want to do that one too.
Right. It's also kind of like a Schrodinger situation where you don't know what's behind the door until you open the door.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Right.
And I think if I hear what you're saying, you like to either make the players work for that information, or you like to let them speculate because sometimes they're going to come up with something better than what you originally had planned. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, cool. It truly is collaborative storytelling, and there's, you know, there's so many different styles and everything, and Jeff is, I refer to him like a cuckoo clock maker sometimes in how he does it, and there are so many corners and crannies, things that I can talk about for an hour by myself, as I've mentioned, and then it's so beautifully like crafted in this way, having said that, we've completely led his story in very strange directions and things he could have never anticipated, and invented entire characters and subplots and everything like that. And it's just about like how much you give yourself beforehand to build up.
Yeah.
And I think it's not a negative to say that while your style is looser, it's all trying for the same thing, which is just like taking the influence from here and the influence from here and the influence from the table, and together we make this story. It's beautiful. It's really, it's weird chemistry in so many ways. It's like one of Red Wigglebottom's potions, if you will.
What a name. Ron
Red
is so weird.
Wigglebottom. I know.
Yep.
Ron, what are you doing? I love you. Red is a hit. I think everybody loves Red.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Red's going to get his own spinoff show for sure.
For sure.
I can't kill Red.
If you kill a red panda, oh my God.
You could. It would just depend on how far into Team Force of Evil you really want to go.
First time Red gets hit with a fireball, it's just going to make everybody like cry.
All right. Question number 4 from Jessica. And these are all like multiple part questions, which I love. From the DM perspective, what was the most surprising thing about the first session of Fortune and Fate? We kind of already talked about this, but if there's anything else that pops into your head that was surprising. I actually have a moment that I thought was surprising to me as a viewer, but why don't you?
No, you tell me. I don't know.
So I really love Rakshasa. Like they're one of my favorites.
I wanted to get to this. Yes.
I was so the only part of this episode that I was literally like, it pained me to not be in this episode was when I could tell by the way you described, and you said lion head, and I was like, wait a minute, is it lion head or tiger head? And then you said the hands were backwards, and then the way it was talking with the claw, I was like, oh, that is totally a Rakshasa. And then I think Persephone said something that then got you to mention that. I love that creature. I love that monster. I love the concept behind it. It's not used.
I was going to say, because I will admit that I've heard of I've heard Rakshasas. I've seen people cosplay as Rakshasas, but it's a creature
They're
that
amazing.
In my D&D experience, I have not had much run-ins with.
You're lucky then. They are like in D&D, they're nasty.
Oh, super nasty.
They're technically a fiend, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're demonic. Yeah.
Right. But but
there's so much more to them than just that. The fact that they're a demon is just kind of icing on the cake, in my opinion. I mean, you don't even necessarily need to go into that much detail about the fact that they're demons. But I want to know, Gabe, why you chose Rakshasa, because that could easily have been a TPK. Like you could have easily just had the Rakshasa turn and snap Red's neck right there, and that would have been a very different show.
Let's get some fan art of the Rakshasa snapping Red's neck.
Yeah. Sorry, Ron, I keep picking on you. Pick a different PC. So the Rakshasa could have easily just taken one PC out in a heartbeat. What made you choose to use that? What was your level of like thought behind that? And were you ever surprised or afraid that they were going to try to fight the Rakshasa in the given situation that they're all just third level?
And if there's anything that you just need to say, DM's privilege, and you can't tell us yet, obviously.
This is great. I actually picked it 10 minutes before they arrived in that spot.
Really?
Yes. And I love the creature because it is incredibly powerful, and it is often underestimated, and it is rarely encountered. It is something so good at illusions and magic that is messing with the mind or the senses that I was like, I wanted something like that. And if you're in a place of nightmares, that creature has definitely haunted some adventurers' nightmares. That like creature has probably killed everyone in an adventuring party except for them. So I'm like, something to be living there, a place of nightmares and dreams would be a great place for something to be trapped. And I'm like, what's a horrible thing that could be trapped that they might not innately know is terrifying? Because with a lot of creatures, if you just look at it, you're going to assume this thing is bad. And if I had put an undead figure with glowing eyes, they would have attacked it almost immediately without question.
Yeah,
but when they
with Handsome being in the party.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
But when they see this creature show up that is feline-like and interesting and different and not innately violent, they're gonna be like, okay, like I'll hear it out. Oh, it wants to
Jessica
barter?
immediately started flirting with the Rakshasa.
that's JLP for you. Yeah.
And they're like, let's barter with it. This is great. And I'm like, y'all just made a deal with a fiend. And
well, I think it was definitely influenced by the fact that we had just discovered, the divine sense had just discovered that we were basically surrounded already. And it was like, I think that
undead grapes and demons coming up out of the ground.
Demons in the ground. And so it was like, there was an immediate sense of like, get us out of here right now. And you describe this character so beautifully, to have such presence and intimidating presence, that it was sort of like, nah. I was like, literally,
you're also in the Feywild, so it's like double your bang for your buck.
Yeah.
Like, is this lion creature powerful because you're in the Feywild, or is it a Rakshasa and that's why it's powerful? Yeah.
Gabe never said they were in the Feywild.
Nope.
Everyone else said Feywild, and I kept saying Fey stuff.
Right. It's true. It's true.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm assuming
misdirection.
nothing. Yes, yeah, I'm trying to assume nothing. But no, well, and that was actually part of the thing.
It was the six-legged squirrel and the walking leg.
I was going to say,
it's a place of dreams and nightmares. Everything is horrible there.
The two things of, one, our job had nothing to do with killing a weird lion person. It was like, get the grape and come back. And so Ned was like, I got the grape, I got the scroll. Can we get out of here, please? And the other thing was that we'd almost been killed by a mushroom about 20 minutes earlier. So I was like,
pixie mushroom,
get me out of here.
Something that adventuring parties, in my humble opinion, have a real bad issue with is they don't run.
Yeah.
Y'all could have run at any point. Yeah. You had a direction. You had a direction and a sense of smell, but you said, nah, let's fight this mushroom. And the thing was, it had... The mushroom.
I think I was charmed. There was like a couple of us charmed or something like that, and that was like
you were affected by the sneezing dust.
Right.
And that was just disadvantage on rolls.
Right.
You could have run.
Yep.
And it had 1 health each.
Yeah.
They were dreams, and you popped them.
Yep.
But they're like, nah, we gotta kill it. So I was like, all right. Kill it, I guess.
It's just a mushroom.
Yeah.
That might be a little left over from the fact that in the other game we try to talk to everything first before we fight it.
Right.
And I think this time around people were just wanting to fight.
Yeah.
It was a simple job it was just literally get a grape and get out of there. So I was like, all right.
I was hoping someone tried to hit the Rakshasa. I was hoping
that would not have gone well. Gone well.
They can at will disguise self, detect thoughts. They can plane shift, dominate person. So here's the thing with above knowledge. This thing can plane shift once per day. So why did it need you all to break it out?
Right.
That's something that I want you to think about.
Yeah.
Well, no, and that was one of the beautiful things that you set up so well for a session 1 that you like so much, which is that you don't even know what it is yet, but that feeling of the impending threat, the nightmares are escaping. And you're like, what does that mean? That sounds big, you know? And
delightful.
Yeah. But no, I loved it, and yeah, I think I'm glad we didn't try to kill the Rakshasa, because that would have gone poorly.
So we're technically already at time, but because we had some tech issues, we're going to go late.
Go a little
because
late.
Gabe's nice, and he's going to hang with us for a little while longer. I have a ton more questions, but what I'd like to do now, since there's quite a few people in chat and some people that joined late, is if anybody in chat has a question for Gabe or for Morgan and I, now is the time to post it. We're going to open it up to chat questions. Anything we've already talked about is fair game, or if you want to start a new subject, go for it.
I mean,
in the meantime, I would like to hear more about, is it Kion?
Kion.
Yep.
Is there anything
what's
more
Keon's technical position at the Bastion? Does he have a title?
He's your facilitator. There are facilitators that lead individual teams. Think like a guild. A guild has a guild master.
Right.
And this is like a guild master who probably is a member of a guild, a member of a group of guild masters who report to like the guild lead. So he's basically your upperclassman and class president.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense.
And so he's responsible for if you pass or fail.
Got it. I am seeing.
So we got
I'm
more
seeing
Patreon
Whisper.
questions.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Yeah.
Whisper Joe came up with one. Team Force of Evil. We talked about this. Team Force of Evil totally embraced you, Gabe, and came out in full force. I love the way you wholeheartedly ran with it. Are you prepared for when Team Force of Good responds in kind?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make my job harder. Bring it on. They need more help than I do.
I believe you.
Believe me, I love the help and I love the support, because then that gives me a narrative reason to like make things harder for them. And people are like, "Gabe, why'd you do that?" I didn't do that. Team Force of Evil did that.
I didn't.
But also,
the decisions.
like I'm excited for Team Force of Good to be more gung ho, to be more involved, or like try to take the sway, because I feel like it's probably more satisfying if the party perseveres through means like that than feeling like I took it easy on them.
Oh, for sure.
Because Gabe is not playing versus these people. Gabe is facilitating the challenge for them.
Mm-hmm.
My goal is never to kill their characters, to make the players miserable. My goal is to give them a challenge that they can approach,
Mm-hmm.
and then give them a fun way to guide through it. So if Team Force of Evil indirectly facilitates their death, I'm not happy about it. But what I am excited about is seeing how they navigate it after that. Because like in this game, in a weird way, even death is a challenge.
Right.
Does this person get revived?
Right.
What happens to their story? How does the person behind the character want it to go? I love that stuff. And we've talked a little bit before, but we're probably going to get it managed. I have like a big goal thing that I want people to be able to donate to. And
yes. Yeah, we're working on that. Yes.
Yeah, we'll incorporate some of your ideas when it comes to Team Force of Evil, Team Force of Good, for sure. So we just did Whisper Joe. I want to get to these Patreon questions.
There's C King 137's got another one as well.
Go ahead.
Yes.
Hit it.
Okay. Yes. I find it really interesting and fun to see Gabe's more antagonistic DM style. How did you develop this style as a DM?
It's literally just what the kind of experience is. With a lot of my other games, I'm actually way more hands off, and I ask them what kind of challenges they want. Mm-hmm. This one felt good for an antagonistic style, so that there were individual challenges each week. Mm-hmm. It's the difference of we're telling a short, compact story in a session versus we're setting up for a big end result at the end, because that's easier to be more go do the thing. I'm just going to sit and watch, because role playing is fun. And there might be episodes that aren't as action or combat facing.
Sure.
But I feel like for the medium of this show, that almost would be a loss, because then, especially if like people swap and change for it. So then no matter what anyone knows, no matter what anyone coming into this new world is expecting, it'll be a pretty consistent thing. And like having more of the antagonistic, like we're playing a game of chess against each other.
Right.
That way, yeah, it's a little more consistent for this kind of vibe.
Got it. Curtis King did ask Jared, since you and I both DM as well, Jared, what style of DM are you? I've played in games you've run before. Okay.
I was the game that I ran with you, Morgan, was very experimental. It's not my typical dungeon masters.
You mean the one that ended with Ron piking himself in the face?
Yeah. Never good when your player characters kill themselves.
He thought it was the solution to a riddle, and it was not. It was a private game, and it was It was like, wow.
Bold choice.
Wow.
Bold choice. Ron wins the award for the biggest, boldest choice. It was a great idea for a solution. Like
I almost did it.
If I ever write that into a one shot, I might make that a possibility.
Do it.
No, my style of DMing, I wouldn't say it's antagonistic. What I like to do is I like to try to find what genre I want to set the session, whether it's one shot or two shot or campaign in. So what's the overall or arching feel that I'm going for? What's the one big question that I want answered? So like, I wouldn't say it's like Jeff, where Jeff, writes these just massive amounts of notes and descriptors and what have you. But what I do like to do is I like to plant seeds, and let the player characters mess with that as much as they could possibly want to, and give them subtle hints. But I agree with you, Gabe. I think sometimes the player characters will come up with ideas that are much more interesting than what I even have originally planned. And so I'll steal tidbits while they're speculating what the next thing could be. I definitely have beats that I want to hit, though.
Yeah.
Or, like an overarching story beats with a climax and what have you. But some of the most fun I've ever had DMing a game is making the players work for it and guess, and then the reward that you see is when they figure something out or they come up with an interesting solution that you might not have even thought of when you were planning it. And the excitement that comes out of that, regardless of how well they roll, sometimes those moments are the most rewarding moments in role-playing games, period. And I oftentimes forget to incentivize that. And so something that I'm working on as a dungeon master, and I'm sure anybody that's a storyteller or dungeon master out there can probably relate, is remembering to reward your players for coming up with creative, interesting solutions. And you can reward them in any number of ways. It doesn't have to be something as literal as like
gold
advantage on a roll. It could be something even more low key, like maybe that character gets a piece of information that none of the other characters have. They get that next hint.
Right.
Sometimes I like just asking them what they want, like, because I've had people say, well, Gabe, if you let them ask for anything, they'll ask for the most broken thing. And I'm like, okay, but like, how bad is it going to be? Because it depends on what kind of people you're playing with. Some people, if I've given characters a moment of like, hey, I'll give you anything you want as a reward. What would you like? And one of the characters was like, I'd like them to revive my sibling. And I'm like, done.
Wow.
They could have asked for a wish spell.
Yeah.
They could have asked to be king. But a lot of times I will definitely see players take something that is an amazing narrative moment for their character that they never would have had the opportunity to otherwise.
Yeah. 100% agree.
I think
that's the magic, I think, of communal storytelling and role playing. Yeah.
Because that gives you, as the DM, that gives you so much more ammunition or whatever, more seeds, whatever to do. It's like, okay, well, this is a big it gives you so much more stuff to play with. It puts a lot more in your toolbox. I need to work as a DM. I'm still fairly new DM. I haven't homebrewed anything. I only work through adventures because my brain doesn't work that way.
You can start with book adventures and then just reskin things. Sometimes that's a lot less work and it's just as rewarding.
Yeah. But I need to work on my poker face as a DM. It's so true. It's like I am definitely that guy of like, so you're gonna try and steal that? You're gonna try? Okay, it's fascinating. But no, try it.
Instead of working on your poker face, work on the ability to deceive them.
Right.
With your because even if that's a genuine reaction, make it so that they can't tell whether your genuine reaction is happening because it's real, or if you're doing that on purpose. If you're doing it on purpose.
Right.
If someone's like, I'm gonna steal this thing, and you're like, it doesn't matter. Are you sure you want to do that?
Yeah.
You want to do that?
No.
And then they're like,
don't try. You're fine.
No, don't.
Maybe I don't. Stakes.
Yeah.
It's all about stakes, really, at the end of the day. It's all about raising stakes.
Steak.
All right, we have one more question from David Genpro. Actually, I got one from
Shafrikas as well. Yeah.
Yes, and one from Shafrikas.
All these last minute questioners.
I know. David Genpro's question is beautifully detailed. Let's see.
It's also like 2 paragraphs long.
I know. Roll20 for online D&D and TDR both helped get me through the better part of the last 2 years where COVID kiboshed most in-person D&D. That's nice. Today, I'm coming down from a first post-Omicron pause in person. Oh, yay. Well, good. You got your first session. DMing a group of writer, actor, neuroscientist friends. Oh, boy. Enjoyed your D&D tips last time and would welcome more like that from this TDR D&D brain trust. How about, what are your beverages, substances of choice, and doses for optimally fun sessions? For
Caffeine.
me, you can probably notice if I'm drinking during a session, I will normally only drink during the first part of session, and then it's coffee or soda or just water for the second half, which is tough because when it's different when you're doing a show. When you're doing a stream, I probably wouldn't drink coffee at 8 p.m. If it was just a regular home game. But for the show, for the audience, everything, I want to make sure I'm still sharp at 10 p.m. So yeah,
Drunk D&D is
a different
doesn't always
game.
work.
It's a different game. What are you thinking, Gabe?
Well, 2 things. One, there's a weird reason why caffeine doesn't affect me anymore, so it doesn't really matter.
I get a headache if I don't drink it, which is terrible.
No, I don't really drink coffee until I get bored, but I'm the person who drinks I'll drink coffee at 2 a.m, but it doesn't do anything. But it's because I had 3 full pots of black coffee at 2 a.m.
Dang.
Right.
I was awake for 78 hours. Anyways,
Yikes.
After that, it's never worked again. But my personal other recommendation is if you're doing in-person games and it's going to be a tavern session, make a weird concoction. Mix apple juice and cranberry juice and water it down.
Todd Stashwick, who co-wrote a book of D&D themed cocktails, is a king of that.
No, those are good. This is not good.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Intentionally make bad grog.
Yes.
Oh, beautiful.
Make it passable so that they'll drink it, but it's weird.
Love
it. If you're feeling wild, get apple juice and put a little bitters in there, and then that's the grog that they're serving at the bar and tavern. And I have no doubt that'll get people to start role playing.
That's fun
in ways you didn't expect it, because it's all right, this grog is kind of terrible, but it's passable. And there's going to be that one person who's not speaking, but they're not speaking because they're drinking it,
right.
And it's a great in-character moment.
That's good. I like because that tells you something about the barkeep. It tells you something about the bar. That's storytelling in little unexpected ways. I love that.
Yeah, it's all about immersion.
The second part of David's question, continuing on this, do you have any other physical self-care tips for in-person D&D? I have a sore lower back this morning after many hours yesterday as DMing, often getting up, standing, leaning over the gaming table. Now, Gabe, you told me this. You have actually
Gabe's a young buck. Gabe's young and healthy and doesn't have any kids.
But Gabe also hasn't DM'd in person that much. Is that correct? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Shriek Week was the first time I ever DM'd in person.
Which will make me go back and rewatch Shriek Week even more impressed than I was the first time.
But what I did when I was taking breaks, I would get up and I would do character voices. I would get up and do character voices. I would walk around. I found that actual motion helps my brain function better.
Yeah.
I'll write ideas when I'm walking my dog with voice to text or stuff like that. And if you need stuff to keep you in character, think of how does the character that you're coming back to walk?
Right.
Do they walk like this? Do they walk like this? And mess around with that a little bit. Make it a fun, physical, literal and metaphorical exercise to get in character in a way that you might not normally do it. person is walking like this, and then you're walking around the table a little bit, I have no doubt that'll help you get into the mindset.
And that activates so much with the other people at the table. That's absolutely true.
Yep.
Let's see. Oh, okay. Well, this is our last question because we're running a little long, but Chafrikas has such a good question, and I think it's going to wrap us up beautifully.
Oh yeah.
Gabe, what does suffering mean to you?
Dark.
Yeah, but very apropos.
Suffering to me is the satisfaction of someone else. And that's why suffering is so terrible.
Okay. Interesting.
Because it's like if everyone's suffering, then no one thinks it's suffering. The only way to treat it as suffering is if someone else isn't experiencing it.
Fascinating. Balance.
Yep. Everything in balance. Which, like, I love how everyone's like, all right, let's go get a grape that glows the suffering. And I'm like, oh, dang, the grape has like weird little undead pixies. Oh, they're the ones that glow when you say suffering. No one asked why they were activated by the word suffering.
That was a horrifying detail. Is there a good answer? I don't know. Maybe there is.
Yeah.
Of course there is, but it's like...
Yeah.
Yikes.
It's I'll tell you, it's not going to come up again. Suffering was like, okay, so I thought of this later because I don't know why the hell I said that.
Ron says, like, not my problem. I
was like, oh,
I don't need to know the why.
Something that I love that doesn't get used a lot in games like this is like true names. And I'm like, you know what? I like the idea of a like cursed pixie that was then cloned. Like they basically died and became this horrible tree. And the spawn, like the clones of it, were the fruit that were growing on it. And the reason they glowed to the word suffering is because suffering was their true name. In a way, you were like igniting them and activating them.
Yep. Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah, I agree. True names are definitely not used enough.
That's why I don't give my real name. I don't give my characters real names like ever.
Good to know.
Yeah.
I went. How many episodes did I go before I finally said who Sivrak was?
So funny. It's one of my favorite moments. And it was like 35 episodes in, and we got put in we got put in a zone of truth. And literally the first question was, "What is your name?" And we're all like, "Here's my name." And Jared's like, "I have to roll," and we're like, "What?" It was a truly what the hell moment. It was so painful. Funny. Oh man. Okay.
Well, Gabe, it was absolutely a joy talking. I feel like we could have talked for another 2-3 hours easily.
We'll have more chances.
I was going to say, we're going to have you back on the show for sure.
Yes. And to further, I know there have been some questions about, to further kind of let people know about the scheduling of Fortune and Fate. This was, we got the premiere in because we wanted to show people we have a more regular schedule for it coming in April that everyone will see, and we'll announce that soon. So be on the lookout. It's going to be a few weeks before we get back, but then we're going to be back on a very regular schedule of Fortune and Fate. So be lookout for those very soon. I know there was someone wanted me to rant for 10 more minutes about episode 111, which is on Wednesday. We don't have time to do that today, but this is what I'll say. Let's see. I think that
you want to do another cast secret that's like 45 minutes to an hour more?
No, I already did one. But this is what I'll say for the Patreon. I think Shothar got his mirrors is blue, and I think I'm spoilers. I should have said this is massive spoilers. Wait, no, never mind. I shouldn't say that anymore. And the other big one is I think I know who Osira is, but I'm not sure, and I could be all wrong about all of it.
I have a spoiler.
Okay.
Shoot.
I have a spoiler for you.
Shoot.
The Bastion technically does exist in the Dungeon Run world.
That's huge, Gabe!
That's awesome.
Yeah. But
I like it.
I'm not going to tell you when, how, or where.
Nope. That's huge! Dropping bombs at the end of the cooldown.
Yeah. For all those people that stayed till the end.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, we're going to call it. That's right. That's right. Everybody's minds are blown in chat.
Yeah.
I knew we were talking about that, but to hear Gabe say it so clearly is amazing and very exciting. All right. We love you guys. Thank you, Patreon. We will see you Wednesday for episode 111. And we'll be here. This will go up. The VOD will go up on the Patreon tomorrow.
Oh, Gabe, there were some people asking about you joining Discord. Are you on Discord?
I don't know. I think so.
We'll get you. We'll get you in the official, the fan Discord, the official Discord.
Yeah, because there's one that already has Gabe listed, and they're already posting stuff in there.
Oh yes.
And there's some questions for you.
We got to get you in there. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll have you in. Beautiful. It's the best community on the internet, as we say. We love you, folks. Thank you so much. Thank you, Gabe. Thank you, Jared. It's anything else I'm missing? I don't think so.
Tune in on Wednesday at 6 p.m. Pacific.
See you Wednesday, and stay tuned for more Fortune and Fate coming soon. Love you guys. All right, and adieu, humankind. Be both.